Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Hank Cisco Show. Let's go.
Welcome to the Hank Cisco Show. I'm John Doyle, sitting in for Hank. It's a real pleasure to be able to sit in this seat with my guest today, who is Mel Payne, who is the president of the Greater Philadelphia chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen. And we are wishing Hank the best. We know he's home and we know he's watching the show, so I hope you learn as much, Hank, as our audience will learn along the way. And so let's get ourselves started and find out some things about this group, the Tuskegee Airmen in the Greater Philadelphia area. So can you tell me a little bit about your organization?
So the Tuskegee Airmen in total has a national organization as well as 50 chapters throughout the Philadelphia or throughout the country. Our chapter, Greater Philadelphia area, covers the 5 counties in the Philadelphia area, and we are focused on getting the message out to people about the legacy of the Tuskegee Airmen, but we also support youth programs such as scholarships, flight programs, and we also support STEM programs.
That's amazing. So you're located in this area right around here. So Greater Philadelphia includes what for you?
So it includes Montgomery, Bucks, Chester, Delaware, and Philadelphia County. Our organization is located in Philadelphia County, and we have our meetings at the Veterans Administration Building at 5000 Wissahickon Avenue.
Okay.
It's at 7 o'clock on Wednesday evenings. We're trying to do some things on Saturdays to make it more convenient for others to participate.
Okay. And so you service this sort of 5-county area, but there are times because of the great gift that we have here locally that you serve other areas. Can you tell me a little bit about what's special about the Philadelphia chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen?
So the Philadelphia chapter, the one thing that's really a blessing for me is because I get to walk around with living history. We have 5 original Tuskegee Airmen that are documented Tuskegee Airmen and women that actually are still living from the Philadelphia area. The youngest is 92 years old. The oldest just turned 104 on May 14th of 2019. His name is Roscoe Draper, and he was a flight instructor that taught the pilots how to fly. It's uniquely different to hear their stories about what happened during those times, because we have to realize that in the 1940s, there was a lot of segregation, so that they had to be in a self-contained unit in Tuskegee, Alabama. And this story gets broader because most people think about the pilots, which were 992 trained.
Right.
But there were about 18,000 people who were self-contained at this base. And they included nurses, doctors, mechanics, cooks, and so on, so that they could support the pilots.
And so what's the significance of this Tuskegee Airmen situation in the 1940s?
So back in the 1940s, the government said that black men couldn't fly. They didn't have the willpower, they didn't have the knowledge, the skills, and the abilities. And so the Tuskegee Airmen had to actually sue the government. So they sued the Army Air Corps in order to have the ability to be trained to fly. So in order for them to do that, the government said, okay, we'll just do an experiment that will prove that they didn't have the capabilities to do it. And they started a Tuskegee Airmen base in Moton Field in Tuskegee, Alabama. Okay. The significance is not only did they help change World War II, because they escorted bombers during the day that allowed them to go and bomb and change the war against Germany without losing many bombers. They have the record for losing the least amount of bombers in history of the Air Force. Why that is also significant is because of what they did, it changed the Army Air Corps into the Air Force, which became, segregation was removed. So segregation went away because of the heroics of this great organization.
So aside from the fact they served their country specifically as members of the military and that support staff, they also had an impact on the idea of civil rights in the country by breaking down those barriers in that community, in that military community.
Yes.
And that's, that's fascinating to me that we can see that there's a more significant activity than just what simply on the surface feels like giving the rights for Black Americans to fly. That's fascinating. And this support staff, they were all self-contained. Was there leadership all African American?
So the organization consisted of black and white men and women, because at that time, thinking back to 1940, no black man would be able to lead troops back in the 1940s. So
Right.
the officers that led the groups were white.
Okay.
And that's significant because there were some officers that initially started that did not want it to be successful. And so until the right officers were put in place was the situation able to become a success.
That's amazing. And so these people that you have, these people who are still alive, they're able to tell these individual stories. And you said to me earlier, one of them was a trainer for pilots. Other members of the group you have were service staff. What other folks?
So we have the trainer of the pilots. We have a fighter pilot. We have a bomber pilot. We have one of the women was in administration. The other was a nurse in the psychiatric wards, and we have logistics.
Oh, okay.
So we have people that do a broad spectrum of those that participated in this event.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So that's the Tuskegee Airmen historically, and you are an extension of that to some extent. What is the focus of your particular organization? So
our organization focuses on three things. The first thing is that we want to make sure that we maintain the legacy of the Tuskegee Airmen. And I'll talk in a few minutes about some of the things we're doing to make that happen.
Sure.
The second thing that we do is we want to support youth. So in order to support youth to be able to go on, not only in aviation, but in other fields, we support them with scholarships. Last year at our event in May, we gave $5,000 worth of scholarships to young people to help them continue their education.
Okay.
And the third thing that we do is a combined youth set of programs. We provide flight experiences for youth on some Saturdays in the fall. We are working on a drone program, so we sent some of our members to get trained as drone instructors because that's the future.
Indeed.
And then we also support other STEM programs.
That's great. And so you're talking about like direct activated support to individual young people, and then some broad organizational support that both keeps that legacy alive by letting those folks tell their story, or you guys share their story.
Yes.
And to get people engaged in STEM, which has some great value to us in our community.
It sure does, because if we don't help youth make that transition, we're going to be lost, not only here but as a country. So we want to be one of the proponents to help that happen.
And when you talk about legacy, what are you suggesting? Like, what do you mean by legacy?
So what we do in order to support that legacy, we can currently take some of these living history folks to go out and make presentations. But we know at some point in time they're not going to be able to do that. So we've done a number of things. One, we have some of them videotaped. So we have oral history where we have them talking about their lives, not only during the wartime, but as children and what they did afterwards. One of the members of our organization, Dr. Eugene Richardson, he was a fighter pilot, and then when he left from after World War II, he became a principal.
Okay.
So he finished his life and retired as a principal of a middle school. That's significant because you have done some things to be loyal to your country and also loyal to the youth.
Right.
In addition to that, we have a book that we will release in February. February 3rd is when our first book is coming out. Our initial signing will be at Westchester University, who was a partner in helping us to write the book.
Okay.
On February 6th at 3 p.m. will be the initial book signing at Westchester University. So we have a book that will still continue to spread the word about their legacy. There are 20 different people from Philadelphia area that are included in that book, which helps maintain that legacy.
And we were talking before the show, you said it's not just the story of their time in that encampment, but it is an extended story. Tell me a little bit about that.
So extended story. Extended story that we wanted to capture was the fact that how did they make a choice to be a Tuskegee Airman or to be a pilot? Forget Tuskegee Airman, but to be a pilot. And there's some stories about as they were 5, 6, 10, or teenagers, that they actually wanted to support themselves and support the loyalty to the country. So they chose to become part of that. But then they did those heroics during World War II, but the war came to an end. Mm-hmm. And some people would say, well, even when the war came to an end, they still had to deal with segregation. Why wouldn't you just give up and quit? But they didn't quit. They went on to do many jobs. Some became real estate personnel, some became principals, Some went into the medical field. Some became lawyers, doctors, and owners of their own businesses. So they continued to serve and to be contributors to the economy of the United States.
Okay, yeah, that's amazing. And so the book expands not just the story of the military service, but gives us some frame of reference so we can talk about the issues of Black history or African American history in America as well.
Absolutely, and also to show young people that no matter what the odds are, you still can be successful.
That's great. That's exciting for me to hear, especially here in high school where we have lots of kids who don't have a sense that they have that sort of burgeoning future, that they have the chance to do whatever they want. It's great to know that you sort of give them something that they can grab onto and work with. That's fantastic.
It's something that we talk about a lot at our organization, because if not us, who?
Right.
Someone has to continue to encourage the young people to go on and be successful in life.
And how do the videos relate to the book?
So we have currently we have 5 videos that we will do vignettes from those videos that will accompany the book.
Okay.
So now you'll see people that you read about in the book and hear their stories on videos.
That's exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. And for students in a classroom, or even students studying history at home, that encounter with a real person gives legitimacy to those stories that feel so distant on the page. So that's great. That's really fantastic. You have a scholarship gala coming up too, am I right about that?
Yes, we do. We have our scholarship gala that's always the first Sunday in May of every year. So on May 3rd, Sunday, May 3rd, at the Springfield Country Club is where we will have this year 2020 scholarship. At that scholarship event, we will give away a leadership scholarship in honor of Roscoe Draper, the gentleman I talked to you about. That was the trainer of the pilots who turned 100 years old in May. And that leadership scholarship goes to a student from Delaware State University. You say, okay, why Delaware State University? Delaware State University was one of the original training locations for blacks who wanted to be pilots back in the 1940s.
Okay.
So we honor Delaware State by giving a student 3,500 hours to continue studying both as a pilot or as an airport management personnel.
Okay, so that specificity of the scholarship. And that event includes keynote speaker, that kind of, I mean, what's the gala event like?
So at that gala event, we do some really unique things. We honor those Tuskegee Airmen from our area that have fallen and gone on.
Okay.
That's called Lonely Eagles. We also honor some of the Tuskegee Airmen that are present. Last year, we honored Nathan Thomas, and he received his gold medal and certificate as becoming a designated original Tuskegee Airman. We then have keynote speakers that are, I believe, pretty unique. 2 years ago, we had a black female pilot because our focus was on young girls.
Right.
Last year, we wanted to continue the legacy. We had a pilot that was actually a student of Dr. Eugene Richardson, who I mentioned was a principal who he had encouraged. He became a pilot. This year, because our theme is Rising to the Challenge, we have the executive director of the Martin Luther King Monument, who is going to be our keynote speaker and talking about what it took to do that monument and overcoming some of the hurdles and circumstances that Tuskegee Airmen had to do in order to be successful.
Yeah, we still have challenges with those issues in our communities. I mean, in Norristown, we have consistent challenges dealing with ideas of sort of having respect for individual people and the capacity of any individual person based on race or gender or whatever it may be. So that's a great kind of keynote to have present there. Can people attend that, or is it just for members?
So let me go back and talk about membership first.
Great. Okay, why don't we do that?
So most people think that in order to be a member of the Tuskegee Airmen organization that you have to be military or Tuskegee Airmen representative or family. That is far from the truth. In order to be members of the Tuskegee Airmen and our Greater Philadelphia chapter, you just have to be a person that wants to support the missions that we have laid out here, the legacy, the scholarships, and the programs for youth. Anyone can become a member. Membership is $65 a year.
Okay.
And that goes to help support scholarships as well as the other programs. We meet so that you can become a volunteer and support us in helping with the youth programs or any of the programs. As you can imagine, We're an organization that's getting much older. I just told you about the youngest original is 92, the
Right.
oldest is 100. So we welcome younger people to come in and help support this organization because we are going to sustain it for life. As a member, you get currently to walk around with living history.
Right.
I mean, that's something unique for anyone to hear from them on a regular basis. And you get to participate in some of the products that we have. We've had shirts, jackets, mugs, pictures, posters. We have all of that.
And you told me about paintings too that you have?
Yes, we have paintings. So two artists that we always talk about one is Cal Massey, who just passed away this year. We have a painting called The Pilot that he painted for us that we sell prints to the public. We also have another artist, his name is George Connors, who paints fight scenes from Tuskegee actual missions.
Okay.
Many of these are signed, so there are signatures of a documented original Tuskegee Airmen. One unique picture that we have is that we have original Tuskegee Airmen signed. We have two white bomber pilots who are still living that signed, and we have the daughter of the first licensed black pilot in America who signed. So they're unique pictures and prints that you can get.
Okay, great. So you're getting some measure of history in your home when you get one of those paintings.
Yes, absolutely.
Not just a piece of art, although that's included as well.
Yes. Yes.
So I asked you before the show, I'm going to ask now. So, like, is it okay for me, this white guy sitting talking to you, to put on a Tuskegee Airman hat? Is that cool, I guess?
Yes, it is. And thank you for asking that question because it's important. We're not just talking about black history in America. We're talking about American history. This is a group of people that helped change the war, but helped change society in America. Not in black America, not only in white America, but in America. That's why the armed forces are now desegregated, so that anyone can lead any troops of individuals. It doesn't matter about your ethnic background, your color, your race, your gender, anything. That's all open now because of what they did back in 1940.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think that's one of the things we want to stress in a show like this is that although this feels like it's a show that's just about black history, it's not. It's about the history of America.
Yes.
And we should all know these stories. So it should be something we're sharing with the whole population of our school, not just a small group of kids who may appear to have an interest.
And I think that's important. It's important that we understand our history in general, American history, because that makes us better people, it makes us a better society, and it allows us to help others to understand.
And can you tell me how people can support your organization?
So there's three ways that you can support the organization. One, you can support it by becoming a member, and I mentioned that that's $65 a year. The other, that you can support our organization as a volunteer. We often need volunteers to help support us when we take youth out on flight experiences or work in STEM programs. Or even when we're doing a drone training, we would have instructors that would lead it, but sometimes you need people to help support with the groups of young people. And the third way that you can help is by making donations. You can make donations. We have our own website. It's www.tuskegeefilla.org, and we'll leave some information.
And we'll
you can
put
share
that under the screen.
So that you can see that. It'll tell you. We'll leave some information. It'll tell you about our mission and how you can donate to us. With those donations, we will send responses and receipts to you, and in some cases, we'll even send some products.
That's cool. That's great. There's something on here when we talked about membership and membership costs, right? About the CAF Red Tails. Can you explain that to me?
Most people, or I won't say most, but many people receive things in the mail from CAF Red Tails. CAF Red Tails is an organization that professes that they support the Tuskegee Airmen. I only say to people that when you receive something like that, just read the fine print, and I'll leave it at that. That organization does not support Tuskegee Airmen locally, so the Greater Philadelphia chapter doesn't receive anything from that organization. And if you support Tuskegee Airmen locally, then you will get your money spent locally on children who are seeking scholarships, programs, and mentoring and those types of things.
And so people can donate directly to you if they go to your website, which
Yes.
is www.tuskegeefilla.org.
That's correct.
And again, we'll put that under the screen. And if they want to donate other places, it's their business, but you're looking for the support for your organization so
Yes.
you can do the good work that you're doing in the community.
Yes, that's what we want to do. And we want to be able to continue that because we are in it for the long haul. Our organization started back in the 1980s, so we've been doing it for a while. What we're looking to do now is to grow those opportunities for young people because there is a great need for support and scholarships and other programs.
Okay. When we talk about this book that you have coming out, how can people get a hold of that book? I mean, that may be too early for me to ask that question, but.
So, two things. If you go to Amazon, the book is called Tuskegee Airmen in Philadelphia,
Okay.
Rising to the Challenge.
Okay.
And we'll leave some information that can be shared about
and we'll
that.
make sure it's on the screens. Yeah.
You can pre-order the book,
Okay.
but there will be book signings going on throughout the area. The first will be at Westchester University on February 6th. We are scheduling another book signing February 23rd at the American Helicopter Museum.
Right, great.
Later in the year, there will be book signings at the Abington Public Library. We're looking at the African American Museum. We're looking at other sites so that we will be going around the area, greater Philadelphia area with the opportunity.
And who's signing at those signings?
So there's two signings that are happening. One is at Westchester, there will be the author. The author is the dean of the history department at Westchester University, who helped write the book.
Right.
And there are graduate students that help do the writing of the chapter, so they'll be there, as well as original Tuskegee Airmen and family members of those Tuskegee Airmen that are deceased.
Okay.
So there will be opportunities to get from family members, from originals, and from authors.
So it's a much more significant signing than it may sound at first to think you're going to see an author who you don't know sign.
Yes.
There's some historical significance to the whole experience
Absolutely.
of those signings. That's great. And so people can purchase a book there when they come to the signing.
They can purchase the book there. They can purchase it online, bring the book with them. So as we go around, and I didn't mention, but we do probably 3 to 4 different lectures or events a month. So when the book comes out, we will have the books with us as we travel around, so that people will be able not necessarily get it from the author, but you'll be able to get it from original Tuskegee Airmen.
Right, which is exciting. Like that's
Yes.
really exciting. And when we talk about the book's availability, you also talk about these signings being added. That can all be found on your website, like as those dates appear.
They're
will be able to
currently
discover.
not on the website, but we will be putting them up on the website soon. So as we go and we schedule these events, you'll be able to go to the website and see where we will be.
That's great, because people who are watching this show, I wouldn't want them to give up because they say, oh, I can't make the one on May 3rd. So if they have a touchstone, that'll be great for them. They can go look, and we'll keep that website up here on there.
Yes.
Do you guys have a Facebook group or anything like that?
We do. I'll have to send that information. I didn't
That's
bring that
fine,
with me,
but,
but
you
we
know,
can send that
it's,
to you.
you know,
Yes, we
people
have
can
Instagram
search.
and Facebook.
Great, so people can
Opportunities.
follow in those
Yes.
other channels as well, which is great because it lets it be an environment where they can continue to make that conversation take place, so they know when things they might want to
Yes.
participate in happen. When you get requests for these now aging Tuskegee Airmen to go out and speak, are there any limitations that you guys have on that? Do you think about will you go? I know you can't go to anyone who calls. How do you make the decision to go someplace?
So we have our email there for the chapter email, which is phillychaptertai@gmail.com. When someone sends a request saying, I would like to have a Tuskegee Airman or representative of your chapter come speak, they send that in, we send a form. So there's a request form that we send out. We send that request form out so that we can check the dates to make sure, number one, it's open for us, because we get a lot of requests. And if an original Tuskegee Airman or woman is able to come with us. If they are not able to come with us, then we have chapter members that can tell that story. But as I mentioned a little while ago, we'll have recordings of them, oral recordings of them, so during that presentation, you'll get to even hear directly from them.
Great. That's really fascinating. And so you try and make an effort to get those contacts made whenever you can, but there's a process, and people should be aware there's a process.
Yes, there is a process
to get that. Tell me about one of your best experiences in one of these visits with one of these Tuskegee Airmen. What kind of magic happens when they've visited places when you guys have attended with them?
Well, I think one of the things that happens with the Tuskegee Airmen initially is when we tell people that there are original Tuskegee Airmen that you can come and interact with, they don't believe that they're still living, because you have to realize they're 90 and 100
Right.
years old. The other thing that happens is that they are so personable and so receptive to interaction. I'll tell you a funny story about when we were actually getting ready to go to one of the events. We stopped in a Dunkin' Donuts to get coffee, and there was this gentleman who was a military retiree, and he comes up to me and he says, "Is that gentleman there," is Dr. Eugene Richards, "is that gentleman there original Tuskegee Airman?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Well, can I go talk to him?" And it's like, can I go touch him? And people don't realize that they are so receptive, and they're human beings. We said, just walk over and ask him. And you walk over and ask him, and he gets into a dialogue and conversation. Many of them will do the same thing. So they were very open. The other thing that happens is for young people, they're so surprised that they have gone through some similar experiences in their lives that the young people are now experiencing, and you can get direct input from them on how to handle such situations. It's an honor. It's always an honor for us to go out and speak and interact with the public. We go to churches, we go to corporations, we go to schools, and we are open to having that dialogue with each individual.
Yeah, I've seen the gentlemen speak on a couple of occasions here at the high school. I've seen them at the Montgomery County Black History Celebration. Yes. They've been down there. I've seen, and it's always interesting. It's always captivating. And I can see just what you're saying about their openness, because those are big public events, and high school kids can be demanding, and they're just gracious and open. And it makes a difference for kids to experience history for real, I think.
Yes.
For sure. I guess the other thing I want to talk to you is something more general about your organization. So, I mean, you're president of this organization.
Yes.
And that comes with responsibilities and privileges along the way. As you see this organization moving into the future, what are some of your hopes and goals for what you're going to be able to do as an organization?
So, some of the strategic planning and things that we've done is that our number one goal is to be able to increase the number of scholarships that we are able to give to young people. Currently, we give out 5. We're looking to grow that, both in number and in the amount that we give.
Okay.
So that's the reason why you see us doing some other things, like having our own set of products, having a book coming out, have videos that will support these initiatives. We also need to make sure that we grow the resources that we have in people. And the only way that you're able to do that is if you can reach out to younger people. When I say younger people, we're talking about people that are 90 years old. Yeah. If you're 50, you're young in this group. And younger people, because we need to have those ideas that younger people have that can help sustain us going forward. Because without their help and assistance, the organization just dries up. We will increase the number of opportunities for people to participate. We're looking to increase the number of interactions. One of the things that we're working on right now is a trip. It's going to be a trip to Alabama, where you'll be able to visit Tuskegee University, Tuskegee Moton Field, as well as Selma, Montgomery. You know, that whole trip, that will be an African-American experience, but be able to tell that story. I have charged the chapter with going out and also making connections to the white bomber families.
Right.
Because if you don't bring them on board, then people don't know the whole American history story. So we've done that, and we've met some. We had a meeting back in October last year where we brought the two together, and the amazing part about that was the 2 members of the white bomber pilots thanked us, because when the war ended, they never had an opportunity to say thank you to the Tuskegee Airmen who had escorted them and in some cases saved their lives. And this was an opportunity to get together with the two people together and say thank you and have conversations.
Yes, Stan allowed us to take a look at some of the footage from
Yes.
that event that happened, and it was really heartwarming. Like, it was a beautiful, beautiful thing that took place.
Yes.
With people who, you know, you get to a certain age, you've done service to your country, and yet to be able to look at these folks who you did not get to thank in the eye and say the words you probably have needed to for years,
Yeah.
that's been unfulfilled. It was really quite beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
I know there's a little clip of that in a previous Hank Cisco show that you
Yes.
did here with Stan. And so if people want to check that out, they can go to Hank's YouTube page where they're probably watching this and search your name or search Tuskegee Airmen, and they can probably look at a little bit of that clip. It's just fascinating. I guess I want to wrap up with this, just a question about, again, how people can make contact with you. So if someone today said, I'm moved by what I'm hearing on the air, I want a copy of that book, or I want to go to a signing, or I want to become a part of the organization, or I want to donate, how can people go about doing that?
So I'd encourage people to first go to our email, phillychaptertai@gmail.com. Send your information in to us, and we will get in contact with you. In addition, they can go to our website, which is www.tuskegeephila.org, where you'll see some information about our organization, the things that we do, and some of the products, and be able to make donations. Either way, contact us. We will get back to you. We'd love to have you part as the Tuskegee Airmen.
And if someone, I mean, you're part of a larger organization, right?
Yes.
That's national. And so this specific, we want them to be, because we're local, to be specifically focused with your organization, certainly. But you also have the support. You're not just a lone wolf out there. There's support across the country for this.
It's support across the country. So I'll give you another instance. A friend of mine asked me, her nephew wanted to get involved in aviation and thinking about becoming a pilot. She said, but he's in Memphis. I said, okay, give me his name. I will contact him. I will contact my counterpart in the Memphis area, and they connected with him and helped him move along. So we have resources in 50 states throughout the United States.
Yeah, and we're looking right now to talk to people about the activity here locally, and we really
Yes.
do want them to support that. And Norristown School District have benefited from that. Stan has done this work with the White Bombers and the Black Tuskegee pilots, but there is a national identity as well, and
Yes,
that's
there is.
exciting to know. It lets people know that there's a legitimacy to the organization, because sometimes we hear about organizations that are small and local, and we're not sure their impact, and you have the structure around you to do real impact, and that's great. That's exciting. I can't tell you how excited I am to sort of see this book and to see those videos, to try and help incorporate that into our population here. The Black Student Union at Norristown should get a copy, should watch the videos. It will be wonderful. I mean, I appreciate your time here today. So thank you so much for being here again. So this is Mel Payne. He's the president of the Greater Philadelphia chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen. And we just spent a half hour having a conversation about all of the amazing things that they're doing. We hope that you'll take the time to go to their website, to make a donation. Keep your eye out for that book. And, you know, it sounds exciting to be able to purchase the book on Amazon in advance order, but I think it might be more exciting to try and check out one of their signings and get the signatures from all these amazing people, both writers and Tuskegee Airmen and their families, and support this organization, which is doing good work in our community. So again, thank you folks for watching, and as Hank would say, I guess I don't even know what Hank would say. I can't possibly imagine what words he'd say. So I'm going to just pause, and you imagine something Hank has said. And thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.